Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're getting into something a bit different, a really imaginative story called Luna's Miniature Sushi Adventure.
Yeah, it's not our usual kind of source, is it?
Yeah.
But definitely lots to talk about here.
Absolutely. So, okay, the main character is Luna. She is an American Staffordshire Bull Terrier, a beautiful dog. And the story says she has this, really big heart.
Right.
And it starts off pretty normal. Just an ordinary afternoon. Luna's there chewing her favorite squeaky hedgehog toy. I bet a lot of you dog owners can picture that scene perfectly.
Oh, yeah, totally relatable. Just, dog life.
Yeah.
Comfortable routine.
But then, things get weird.
Yeah, as they often do in these kinds of tales.
Exactly. The source says the world around her starts to shimmer, like a heat haze on a road. And then, bam, Luna starts shrinking fast, really fast, until she's only the size of a teacup.
Wow.
Yeah.
Talk about a shift in perspective. Suddenly tiny.
Right. I mean, what do you think that would even feel like? Suddenly everything familiar is enormous, alien.
Yeah, it's a great way to think about scale. Your whole world changes instantly. Chairs become cliffs, rugs become forests, kind of thing.
You'd expect total panic, wouldn't you? A dog suddenly that small.
You would, yeah. Fear seems like the natural reaction.
But Luna, apparently, is pretty brave. The story says instead of freaking out, she just decides to, explore this giant new world. What's that say about her?
Well, it points to maybe a really strong sense of curiosity, right? Maybe stronger than her fear. It's that kind of proactive attitude that really drives the rest of the story.
It really does, because while she's exploring, this now huge living room, she finds something odd behind the TV.
The orb.
Yeah, the strange orb. It's glowing, pulsating. The source makes it sound almost, alive.
And that's the trigger, isn't it? Introducing that element shifts everything.
Totally. Takes it from weird shrinking dog scenario to, full-on fantasy. It sort of sets up the magic.
Right, it breaks the normal rules, opens the door for anything to happen.
And Luna, being Luna, her curiosity wins again. She goes up and gives this glowing orb a little sniff.
Of course she does. Dog logic. Sniff first, ask questions later.
And then poof, that's literally what the source says. Poof. And suddenly there's another tiny Luna just appeared out of nowhere, an exact copy.
Whoa.
Yeah. And it even mentions this tiny detail. One of the clone Luna's ears is slightly crooked, just like the originals. Why include that, do you think? That specific little detail?
Well, it makes it feel more real somehow, even though it's totally fantastical. That crooked ear makes the clone seem less like a generic copy and more like another Luna. Kind of grounds the magic a bit, paradoxically.
Yeah, I see what you mean. It adds a touch of realism to the unreal.
Exactly.
And it doesn't stop there. She sniffs again. Poof, another Luna. Sniff, sniff, poof.
Oh, boy. Exponential Lunas.
Right. Before you know it, the living room is just teeming with hundreds of these teacup-sized staffies bumping into each other, squeaking. The source calls it a joyful whirlwind.
The joyful whirlwind of tiny dogs. Okay.
So the big question then becomes, what on earth do you do with hundreds of miniature Lunas?
Right. I mean, apart from the sheer chaos, what's the point? What's the goal here? It sets up a kind of narrative problem.
And Luna, the original tiny Luna, she figures it out. She suddenly remembers this amazing smell from earlier.
Ah, the sushi.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sushi night in the kitchen. She only ever gets a tiny taste usually, but that smell of, the seaweed, the vinegared rice, it's heaven to her.
That's a great motivation, isn't it? So relatable. It anchors the whole crazy situation in just wanting a snack. Very dog.
Totally. So with this tiny little bark, the source says, squeak, sushi, which is just brilliant.
Ah, squeak sushi.
She rallies her clone army and leads them towards the kitchen.
The great sushi migration begins.
And imagine the kitchen from their perspective now. The humans' sushi making stuff is like an adventure park.
Oh, yeah. That change in scale again. The bamboo rolling mat, that's a tunnel system.
Right. And the big sheets of nori seaweed are like cozy blankets or something.
It really makes you look at everyday stuff differently, doesn't it? Just changing the viewpoint.
And then this is where it gets really clever. Luna, the original, she sort of shows one of the clones how to roll sushi.
Okay. Out with tiny paws.
Apparently. And then somehow that clone teaches another, or maybe they just all get it. And soon you've got this whole army of tiny Lunas rolling sushi.
Wow. So like instant learning or a shared mind kind of thing.
The story doesn't really explain the mechanics, but yeah, it implies this amazing collaboration, all driven by Luna #1's sushi craving.
It raises interesting questions, even in a fantasy context. Instinct versus learning, maybe.
Yeah.
Shared purpose.
For sure.
Yeah.
And the description of them working is great. These tiny paws carefully spreading the sticky rice, arranging these minuscule pieces of cucumber and avocado.
Which must smell amazing to them.
Oh, totally irresistible, the story says. And then they're using their paws to roll up these tiny sushi pieces. The detail really pulls you in, doesn't it?
It does. It makes the whole impossible scene feel vivid. You can almost smell the sushi rice and hear the tiny squeaks. It makes the fantasy tangible.
And they're loving it. Little happy barks and squeaks, the source says. They're clearly having a good time, even sneaking a taste here and there.
It sounds like chaos, but fun chaos. Joyful teamwork.
Yeah, maybe that's the key, right? A shared goal, even a silly one like making tiny sushi, plus that playful energy.
Makes sense. Enthusiasm is contagious, even among clones, apparently.
So then picture this. The human walks into the kitchen, sees, well, hundreds of miniature versions of their dog making sushi.
Okay, that's a moment. What happens? Panic, confusion, calling pest control?
Nope. The source says the human is surprised, obviously, but then just laughs and joins in to help.
Really? Just rolls with it.
Yeah. What does that say about their relationship, you think?
Well, it suggests a really strong bond, doesn't it? And maybe a willingness to accept the wonderfully weird. A lot of trust and affection there, clearly. Not fazed by spontaneously generated sushi dogs.
Right. So finally, the miniature sushi is done. It's not perfect. The story makes a point of saying that.
Probably a bit squished, maybe some paw prints.
Exactly. But it's packed with love and doggy enthusiasm. That's the quote.
I love that. Doggy enthusiasm.
And then they all share it. The human and all the tiny Lunas. This big, bizarre, shared feast.
That imperfection thing is important, though. It's not about making Michelin star sushi.
No, it's about the effort, the shared moment, the experience itself. The slightly wonky sushi is part of the memory.
Absolutely. The process matters more than the perfect product.
So as they finish the last bite, that glowing orb, which had kind of faded into the background.
Oh, the orb returns.
Yeah, it pulses again one last time. And then poof, 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 the tiny Luna clones just fade away one by one.
Back to reality. Or Luna's reality.
Right. Suddenly it's just the original Luna again, back to her normal size. Tail wagging, her hedgehog toy looks manageable again.
And the orb. Does it vanish too?
It just dims, the source says. Seems like its job is done. It started the whole thing and now it's ended it.
The magical catalyst allows the adventure, then restores order. Neat narrative device.
Yeah. So Luna's back to normal, her humans smiling at her, and the story says they'll never forget that day. The shrinking, the cloning, the sushi. Quite a memory.
You'd think not. How could you forget that? It definitely adds a unique layer to their bond. A shared secret adventure.
For sure. And the very last thought is Luna's. She's apparently already thinking, how can she make that orb work again?
Let me guess. For sushi night.
Exactly. Only for sushi night. A perfectly dog-like ambition. Right.
Oh, totally. Mixes that basic dog desire for food with this completely wild experience you just had. It's, yeah, it's charming.
So, okay, stepping back from Luna and her sushi quest, what's the takeaway from a story like this? It's pure fantasy, but is there something more there?
I think so. It sort of speaks to potential hidden in the ordinary, maybe. How something completely unexpected can pop up and lead to, well, surprising collaborations and joy, even if it involves hundreds of tiny dogs.
Yeah, it makes you look at your own routine, doesn't it? That maybe the mundane isn't always so mundane.
Right. What ordinary moment in your day could certainly flip into something extraordinary? What little orb might be hiding behind your TV, metaphorically speaking?
Something to chew on. Definitely something to think about.